Cenk, great to see you again. It's been a while, my friend. Welcome back to Mea Culpa. I know you've got a million things going on. Unfortunately, the hour goes by way too fast. I'd rather just sit and bullshit with you, but we have a lot to talk about. I want to start by bringing up, of course, the other day. Democrats didn't just win, they steamrolled. I mean, we're literally talking record margins in New York's suburban districts, a Democratic sweep of Virginia's legislature, flipped houses, seats in California, as well as a 20-point victory margin for Proposition 50 in LA, which literally capped corporate rent hikes and so on and so forth. What do these results tell you about the country's mood right now and whether voters are finally rejecting the GOP's culture war insanity?
Yeah, well, they definitely are. But I think that it's broader than that. So do I think Trump is in trouble? Yes. Do I think the Republican Party is in trouble? Yes. But the main problem that the Republicans are having is something that I'm not sure that the rest of the media understands. They're having the same problems that the Democrats did under Biden. And you might be wondering why. What do you mean by that? They're two different parties. No, not really. They're both the establishment. And so Biden didn't deliver for the average voter, and so they hated him. And then Trump now has not delivered for the average voter, and the Republicans just gave enormous tax cuts for the rich and for corporations and haven't done anything for the rest of us. And now they're cutting SNAP, they're cutting Medicaid, they're cutting everything, right? And they're building grand ballrooms and great Gatsby-themed parties. So, yeah, the American people realize, oh, these guys are full of crap, and they're not going to deliver for us at all either. So now we're swinging to the other side.
I mean, if you think about it, could they be blinder or deafer to the yells and the screams of the American people? Yes, I know everybody always keeps talking about Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake, which, by the way, I think the real translation was let them eat bread. But we're going to go with the let them eat cake. In this case, it's not even let them eat cake. It's just let them frickin' starve while we're going to sit here at Mar-a-Lago. See, I understand what MAGA Mike Johnson was trying to say when he called it an obligatory party. Yeah, there are people. Mar-a-Lago, let me be clear to every person listening and watching this episode. Mar-a-Lago is not Donald Trump's house, okay? It was once a house. It belonged to Marjorie Merriweather Post. At that time, family was the richest family in America. It is not his home. It is a club. It is a club that has members. They have like 500-600 family members, and they pay. They're now paying up to $500,000+ as a bond to be a member, and they pay an annual dues. So I get it that every year, at least since I've known Trump, which is now well in excess of 2 decades, every year they have a Halloween party. But Donald Trump wasn't president of the United States. Could you be blinder and deafer to the problems that exist in this country when you're throwing a Gatsby theme party? And by the way, Gatsby is not the type of party that you want. It was really a play on just how distorted America was in those days between the haves and the have-nots, with women in plastic margarita cups, in bikinis, and people running around with flowing wagyu and shrimp cocktails and liquor galore, while the vast majority of Americans, 42 million, are wondering where their next meal's going to come from.
Yeah. So, Michael, I think that Trump is actually in bigger trouble than he realizes and the media realizes, because it's one thing when we've had corporate Democrats and corporate Republicans my entire lifetime do this same act, right? Oh, we care so much about you. And then they get in office and they pass a whole bunch of things to help their donors and nothing for us, right? And then every once in a while, the Democrats will do, a little bit of relief valve, and they'll do Obamacare. They'll pass one bill every decade or so, maybe every 2 decades. And then so people are like, okay, the Democrats are better. And they are. That's why I'm a Democrat. Democrats are better. Okay. But are they good enough? No, not nearly good enough. But so why is Trump in more trouble then? Because Trump uh, made both the strategic correct decision, but also set himself up for disaster when he pretended to be a populist. So what he did was he built up people's hopes
Mm,
much higher,
right.
right? So like people have a general sense Mitt Romney and Kamala Harris aren't really going to deliver for you. Like if you live in elite circles, you might think that they will, right? You might think that, oh, go, yeah, no, what do you mean? Mitt Romney, the good old days of Republicans that used to, be good people, and Kamala, of course she cares. No, no, guys, they're just corporate Republicans and Democrats. Never gonna ever give you anything. But Trump doing the same thing, but worse, when he promised to be for the average guy way more than the normal politician in America did. So now when he betrays that trust, I think that his biggest problem in the long run is not even with Democrats or even independents. It's MAGA guys who are going to wake up and realize that Trump was never on their side and that he had conned them all along. And those MAGA guys are going to be super pissed. And then, but most importantly for politics, once his support with independents craters, and it's in the middle of cratering now, but it's going to keep on going down.
Hmm.
Okay. And once it bottoms out, the Republicans are in way more trouble than they realize.
Yeah, I know that I saw there was a whole slew of posts on social media, particularly Truth Social, where MAGA faithful, and I'm talking about like the faithful of the faithful, red hat, shirt wearing, barn painting, agri farmers and cattle farms and so on, ranchers, that they're pissed off and they're like, whoa, 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 we voted for you. You're leaving us in the dust as you're now working with Venezuela and Argentina and China, and you're basically cutting us out. But I did want to ask you this, because for years you've said that Democrats lose when they play defense. This time they leaned in, right? Abortion rights, gun reform, protecting democracy. And you know what? It's working.
Yeah. No,
Do you think this proves that being boldly progressive isn't political suicide anymore, but rather we can call it almost like political oxygen?
oh, 100%. So, guys, first of all, Michael, we got to clarify what we mean by progressive these days, right? So,
Right.
and people use slightly different terms and they have slightly different meanings and they're important. So, populist in America these days basically means you're for the average guy and not for the donors, right? Progressive means you're on the left, but it has two different branches. One is the culture war stuff and the identity politics stuff, and the other is the economic populism, like the
Hmm.
economically progressive. So the culture war stuff doesn't work, and I've never liked it. And Democrats used to get mad at me for not doing culture war stuff. I'm like, guys, I'm born Muslim. I mean, I could play that card. We could play any card we like, but that's not going to win over the average guy. We need to be on our side and to deliver for them, for everyone. Everyone, stop with this identity or that identity. Okay. So now, when you turn to the economic side of the Democratic Party, at least their policies, the progressive policies, the populist policies, that's where we are all aligned, right? And not just Democrats, but almost all the independents. The reason I'm on the Democratic side and I'm on the left side is because the policies are better, right? Paid family leave is better, higher minimum wage is better, lower drug prices are better if they ever do them, right? And I can go on and on, right? So those policies, if the Democratic politicians ever actually did them when they get power, they would be so popular. They have no idea, right? When FDR did Social Security and did all these different economic programs to help the American people, the Democrats won for 40 years straight. So if we would just do our policies, we'd be in golden shape. And
Yeah.
look, Michael, I've been in a war against the establishment side of the Democratic Party for the last 10, 20 years, right? And my main thing is, for God's sake, guys, stop kissing the ass of the donors.
I
I
know.
got it. I got it. I got it. I get you need their money. You got their money. But when you're in charge, if you keep blocking all of your policies, you're just going to be just as hated as Trump. For God's sake, do your policies and we'll be in great shape.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I listen to Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer, I actually wish I was deaf,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's I can't stand listening to either of them. Self-righteous, the cosplay anger that they put on. How about just show some real fucking emotion? How about like
Yeah.
if I was standing up there, I would turn around and I would talk about what Proposition 15 actually means. You know what it means? It means you woke the fucking bear up, you poked the bear, you turn around and you try to fuck the whole system in terms of gerrymandering. And you know what? It's now going to bite you in the ass because two can play at that game. Oh my God, you know who said that? Gavin Newsom, right? He got up. He doesn't make 3, 4, 5-hour, 24-hour speeches. He gets up there. He lays it out. So do people like, Ocasio-Cortez, even though I don't agree with a lot of the shit she says, all right? Lo and behold, she says it 1, 2, 3. I'll tell you, there's a whole slew of Josh Shapiro says it just the way that it is. Gottheimer says it just the way that it is. You have what's her name? Crockett. Jasmine Crockett says it the way it is. No holds barred. They come right out and they say it the way you and I speak. None of this cosplay of this self-righteous anger, and so on, especially not when we're talking about right now. I keep watching and I keep hearing Democrats are celebrating. And by the way, we should. Except here's the problem. While we're celebrating this, millions of Americans are paying the price for a Washington stunt. And that stunt is the government shutdown that is now dragging on into the second month. Federal workers are furloughed, airports delayed, right? You have veterans unpaid, small businesses waiting for loans, and on and on and on. How is this anything but a total betrayal of the public? I hate to say it, but by both parties.
Yeah. So let's talk about substance and style. Those are two different things, right? So on substance, for example, Gavin Newsom, AOC, and Mamdani have a good deal of differences, right? Gavin's a little bit more centrist. Mamdani's to the left of me. AOC does too much identity politics, but she's great on the economic stuff. But that's substance, right? Stylistically, though, they are now very similar. Okay, why? Because they figured out what you're talking about, Michael. Because now Gavin is as aggressive as AOC is, and Mamdani is even more aggressive. So as they have differences in policies, they have adopted what we're advocating for, which is a much more aggressive style of campaigning, right? Let's go get these sons of bitches. So now I'll connect it to what you're talking about here in terms of the government shutdown and all the things that are going on now. So if I was one of the Democratic leaders, and I couldn't agree more with you about Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. Please stop. Please find someone charismatic. Is there not a single?
Can a big Democratic donor just pay them to shut up?
Yeah, just can't you find one charismatic Democrat in Congress, for God's sake? So what would I do? I'd go out there and go, listen, the Republicans need 7 Democratic votes to pass this continuing resolution so we can reopen the government, right? So they say, give it to us for free. We just want you to surrender and give us your votes for nothing, right? And that's not how democracy works. So what are we asking for? Are we asking for special privileges for us? No. We're asking for you to not double the premiums on 24 million Americans, okay? So I'm fighting for Americans. Now,
Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike. This isn't just a Democratic program.
And what the Republican Party is saying is, no, I'm going to put my boot on the neck of the American people. And I'm not going to let you have health care. And I'm going to double your premiums. And I'm going to cut your SNAP. And I'm going to cut your Medicare. And I'm going to give more tax cuts for the rich, right? Well, that's why I'm against them. If you want my 7 votes, let the American people go. Let your hostages go. Don't double their health care premiums. If you say, no, I want to punish the American people and you should give me your votes for free, well, then go fuck off, right?
Right.
Okay, now, if you did that, a lot of people would talk. What would they do, Michael? They'd go all over CNN and said, I can't believe a Democratic leader said fuck off. Well, why did they say that? Boot on the neck. Oh, wow, why? Well, then they would do a fact check on what I just said. And they would have to say, oh, my God, even though he was vituperative and a style that mainstream media does not like, and that's why Democratic politicians don't do it, even though we don't like that and, lack of civility, it turns out his facts check out. And the Republicans are fucking the average American, and they're doing it on behalf of their donors. So, and everyone would be animated, and everybody would realize, oh, okay, the Republicans are insisting on fucking over people that can't afford health care. Oh, because donors, right? But the Democrats
Right.
don't have those kind of balls, at least their leadership right now.
Yeah, and worse than that is, you're right, they don't have the balls to say the things that the American people, all, again, Republican, Democrat, Independent, are actually thinking. By the way, if hypothetically I was a candidate and I was running, because like my mom would tell you, I have a potty mouth. I don't know where it came from. Neither my parents curse, right? My siblings, I have two sisters, a brother. They don't. I don't know, maybe they dropped me on my head, but maybe I've lived in New York too long. I hung out maybe too many times in Brooklyn. I don't know. But I will tell you, it resonates. Yeah, this podcast, for example, has an E for explicit. Ask me if I give a shit. Do you know how many times people have come to me and said, oh, we'd really like to work with your podcast, but you E for explicit. I don't give a shit. Like, why can't you just tone it down? Because then it's not authentic. We don't have authenticity. What we have is cosplay. And you know what? Here's the funny thing about Americans. We see through the bullshit. We see through these choreographed bangings on the podiums and so on. I've never been more bang fist. I mean, I've never been more, outraged. I wasn't supposed to read that, cut that. That's what it is. Everything's scripted for them. And it looks scripted. It sounds scripted. And you know what? We don't give a shit. That was Trump's, literally his superpower. He speaks exactly the way he wants to. He says exactly what he wants to, whether it's racist or sexist or misogynistic, whether it's xenophobic, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic. He doesn't give a shit. He will stay true to himself. And you know what? I've heard so many people, I'm talking about people from Ivy Leagues to people from, state schools, turn around and say, yeah, but he's really authentic, isn't he? Yeah. He's acting today in the White House the same that he acted when he was president and CEO of the Trump Organization. And people like that. But I'll tell you what they like more. You know what they like more? They like a cupboard filled with groceries. They like the ability to not have to ration their food to pay for their insulin. That they shouldn't go hungry so that they can ensure that children have a meal when they go to school. That's what Americans really want. They want to be able to go to a doctor and not have to end up mortgaging their house or not paying rent and going into default because the kid is sick or they are. That's what Americans want. That's what Americans deserve.
Yeah. So, first of all, my parents and my sister don't curse either, and I also curse like a sailor. And I have a theory.
We might be related, Cenk.
My theory is that is New York, New Jersey. That's you grew up in New York, I grew up in New Jersey. That's why we curse so much.
Same thing.
Yeah. So okay. So Trump. Look, people mistook his authenticity for honesty, and so and those are two different things. Trump is authentic to himself. That's definitely true, right? But his true self is a giant liar. Like he's a con man, right? So he lies all the time. Yeah, that's true to himself, but he's not speaking the truth. And so that's a huge distinction that a lot of people missed, but they're catching up on it now. So, but you're absolutely right that it was a superpower, because when you have all these corporate robots out there with all their talking points and their scripts, and they're like, okay, and now we are going to do this. I always think of like Adam Schiff, like the elites love Adam Schiff, and so a lot of the upper class Democratic voters think Adam Schiff is, manna from heaven. But for the average American, Adam Schiff sounds like right, and so like. So when Trump came out and obviously didn't give a shit about anything and broke all the furniture, people were like, oh, finally, a real person. Thank God, right? All we have is these robots and they're so plastic, and this guy's real and it looks like he's fighting for us. But again, that's why the fall is going to be harder than for the average politician, because once they realize, oh, he's authentically a dick and not really a good guy. He was never fighting for us. He was fighting for a golden ballroom for himself, for a $400 million jet from Qatar, from $300 million from the Adelsons. It's all about himself, and he was never being honest about it. Then people are going to feel betrayed more than they would with an average politician. And that's why, like, he's in a world of trouble, and it really has no idea. It's about to get much, much worse for him.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that they know it. They know it. He just doesn't care. It's really amazing. He truly doesn't care. You know, he'd rather burn the whole country down than acknowledge that he made a mistake.
Yeah, no, he would never admit to a mistake, not in a million years. But you can never grow if you never admit to mistakes and learn from your mistakes, right? You just stay in the same rut forever, and that describes Trump pretty well. In terms of knowing or not knowing, I actually think that Trump doesn't know. I think he's totally oblivious. I think the guys like Stephen Miller know, and they're getting ready. Why are they getting ready for a crackdown? Because you do crackdowns not when you're popular, but when you're really unpopular, and I think that's what Miller's getting ready.
Yeah, he is getting ready, but Trump knows. Let me tell you, I hear a lot of people say, oh, Trump is really stupid. No, he's not. He's not stupid at all. In fact, he's cunningly genius. He's not read. He will not read a memo from, say, Department of Defense. Not that Pete Hegseth is much of a writer, or he won't read whatever information is coming in. He'll just put his John Hancock on it simply because they told him the 5 bullet points of what it is. But he has tremendous intuition. And more than that, he's willing to just cross the line of normalcy, of decency, simply because he thinks that's a way that he's going to get to what he wants. Which brings me to sort of like my next question, which is, Republicans, Trump, claiming that this government shutdown, it's all about fiscal responsibility. That's what they're claiming that it is. It's fiscal responsibility. We've allowed the Biden eras and so on within which to put us into so much debt. Well, what about the $8 trillion that he added, or the amounts that he's going to continue to add? But what they're doing is they're holding up budgets over culture war nonsense, right? Books in libraries, drag shows, border theatrics, all of this. And meanwhile, again, the average family can't get through, for example, to the IRS or to renew a passport. Cenk, when did governance become a hostage situation?
Yeah, honestly, 1978. So in my book, Justice is Coming, I write about how money in politics basically killed our democracy. And it wasn't just Citizens United. It started back in 76 with a case called Buckley v. Vallejo, and 78 with a case called Bellotti. And so Lewis Powell, working for the Chamber of Commerce, had written a memo explaining how Chamber of Commerce and the corporate world could take over the Supreme Court and then the country. And then Nixon put Lewis Powell on the Supreme Court, and he did exactly that. He was a deciding vote in some of those cases, and they basically legalized bribery.
Ask any small business owner, and they'll tell you finances get messy quick. A bank account here, QuickBooks there, tax and invoicing apps stacked on top. And you know what? Before long, you're buried in expensive tools, behind on books, and unsure where your business really stands. And that's why there's Found. Found eliminates the clutter by giving you one platform that handles it all: banking, bookkeeping, invoices, and taxes. No more paying for multiple subscriptions and dealing with clunky, outdated apps. Found identify the tasks that create the most hassle for small businesses. Things like categorizing expenses, preparing for taxes, managing invoices, budgeting, and they built an app that does it all directly from your business checking account. Found makes it easy to regain control of your business finances so you can get back to doing what you love. There's so much stress around juggling multiple apps, chasing receipts, or dreading tax season. Now, Imagine what it's like to have everything, banking, bookkeeping, invoicing, and taxes handled in one place. And that's why I love Found, because they make it easy. Found automatically tracks expenses, which means that I no longer have to carve out time every week. I mean, time I could have spent on something much more important to go through my purchases and to make sure everything is accounted for. If I could go back to when I was starting my business, Found would have been a lifesaver. So take control of your business today. Open a Found account for free at found.com. That's Found, found.com. Found is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services are provided by Lead Bank, member FDIC. So join the hundreds of thousands who've already streamlined their finances with Found. Go now.
And once they legalized bribery, it was good night, Irene, right? All of our politicians started working logically so for their donors. Why do I say logically so? 95% of the time in a congressional race, the person with more money wins. Okay. Doesn't matter if they're Republican, Democrat, liberal, or conservative. Nothing matters but the money. So that's why our politicians are obsessed with the money. So now Trump, you're right, of course, as always, with everything he does, takes it to a new level, right? So he's not just raising money for the party. He's not just delivering for the donors. He's raising money for himself. He's not just doing it for the campaign contributions. He's putting it in his pocket through his crypto scams and the planes and trains and automobiles, right? Like he is just stuffing every part of his pockets with money. But what he doesn't understand is that he's going to get caught. Because in the old days, Michael, a lot of these politicians, 78 to now, didn't get caught because mainstream media would cover for them. They would say, oh, the beloved Mitch McConnell and the beloved Nancy Pelosi, and oh my God, they got a bipartisan compromise. The rich win again. Corporations win again. Whoa, yay, bipartisanship. And the American people hated it, but it brewed and stuff. But they had no other media. And everyone always told them it was so great when they got robbed, right? And oh, don't worry, just hate the other side. Just hate the other side and everything will be solved, right? So now, though, we have online media. So look at us having this conversation that we never would have had on cable news, right? And so no chance. And so now what we're telling people is, you know what? Almost everybody in politics is a fraud. Okay, so keep your eyes open, be alert, look for who's actually delivering for you. And I can break down every issue for you guys and show you who might be the good guys, who are definitely the bad guys, etc. So Trump thinks, it's okay. I'm going to get Fox News to lie for me. I'm going to get a bunch of right-wing media to lie for me, and we're going to cover it up like we always do, right? No, brother, no. You're going to get caught. Everybody's getting caught online. So, and I'm telling you, look, I predicted before Trump came into office that the right wing his base was going to turn on Israel. At the time, people thought that was the craziest thing that anybody had ever said, right? And boom, it happened, right? Why? So why did it happen? Because I can see them. Nobody's listening to them. I'm listening to those independents. I'm listening to the MAGA guys who are pissed, right? And what they're all saying is, wait a minute, I thought we were America first. And they don't mean just like that. Israel's just one issue. They mean down the list. I thought gas prices were going to come down. Just like you said, Michael, that price of eggs and groceries were going to come down. Housing was going to come down. Instead, they're all going up. My wages are going down or staying the same, and all the other prices are going up. Why did Mamdani win? Because people want government-run bodegas? No, he won because he said we're having troubles with affordability.
Yeah, he acknowledged the problems with the economy. And, Cuomo is like the Kamala Harris curse. And the Kamala Harris curse was when they asked her a very specific question. What would you do differently than Joe Biden? And she said, absolutely nothing. Whoa. You're going to keep the same exact policies, the thing that is so unpopular? That was her sort of jumping of the shark, right? That's when she totally lost it. And then if you compound that, you have the SNAP, right? The food stamp, the program, literally being gutted. And again, they lie. This Republican administration, they lie straight to the faces of the American people. They claim it's being gutted under the guise of work, work requirements. I mean, this is so ridiculous. They don't even acknowledge that you're talking about 42 million Americans are going to be impacted. Well, how about this? Why don't you break down the 42 million? Because those that are able to work, most of them are working poor, kids and seniors that just aren't making enough in order to pay for, like what Mamdani is saying, the high cost of living. Right? So they are now recipients of SNAP. So tell me this. What does it say about the moral rot of this administration that they can find money for, I don't know, defense contracts and for building of ships and stuff? Really, not the stealth ships, but, the big, beautiful ships, right? But you can't find the money to put food on a dinner table.
Yeah, man, they're in so much trouble. I mean, it's because, Michael, a lot of those guys who receive SNAP, that's 42 million, that's 12% of the country roughly, are Republicans. They were Trump voters, right? And so when Trump cuts their food stamps, oh, they're going to be so mad.
Yeah.
Because they thought it was going to be the other guy, right? And so when it happens to them, oh boy. So I've been doing something for the last couple of years that got people scratching their heads. I'm reaching out to the right wing. They're like, wait, I don't get it, because I'm known to be like kind of a vicious fighter for my side, right? And I'm squarely on the left. So I'm not reaching out to right wing politicians. I'm reaching out to right wing voters and independent voters, right? Because they've been getting screwed just like the rest of us. And so when the prices go up, they don't just go up for Democrats. They don't just go up for liberals. They go up for everybody, right? And so those guys, their last great hope was Donald Trump. Now, that was a misplaced hope, but they had that hope because he lied to them, right? So now when these guys are seeing that Trump is the same old elite establishment prick that they hated, right? People misunderstand them. They're going to be in a world of trouble. Now, to the point of reaching out. So if you remember, I reached out right in the beginning of the administration, said to Elon Musk, hey, brother, if you're going to cut the Defense Department, I'll be your Huckleberry. I'll cut $400 billion out of there in a matter of weeks, right? Because that's a $400 billion that they say is unaccounted for because in their audits, they've never passed an audit. They go, I don't know where $400 billion is. Then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to give you $400 billion less until you figure out where it's going. Because apparently you don't even know where it's going. So that's it. You're got right. So now Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. and a bunch of them said, oh, yeah, Cenk, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to cut defense. And what did they do instead? I knew they weren't going to cut defense. That's why
they
I offered
added
the
another $100 billion to it to make it a cool trillion. Yeah. Make it a cool
they
trillion.
gave another $150 billion extra on the Department of Defense. Why? Elon Musk is going to get contracts for SpaceX and his other companies, et cetera, from the Defense Department. So they were monumentally full of crap. And what was great about that is all the right-wing voters and Trump voters saw me and Elon and Donald Trump Jr. talking online, right? And they were like excited. They're like, yes, let's cut the Pentagon. And so many people in the elite circles, they have no idea that the right-wing voters actually want to cut the Pentagon. They want to cut the Pentagon. And so they're in the old world where they're like, no, Republicans love the Pentagon and they want more pork barrel projects. No, the voters don't. The voters don't want it. And instead they added pork on top of pork on top of pork. And MAGA Trump voters saw them do it with their own eyes. They're like, you said you were going to cut, and instead you added pork. So all of this is going to pile up. So on the Democratic side, it's super important for us. Attack their politicians, attack the powerful. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to stand up for the powerless and for the average guy, right? And for American citizens. Attack their politicians, but do not attack Trump voters, because we need to invite enough of them back in.
Agreed.
And by the way we invite them back in is not by tricking them, but by delivering for them, by getting money out of politics, by ending the wars, by doing the things they also want. It's actually shocking how much Americans...
Wait. What wars do you talk about? Trump ended them all. I mean, I think he's now... What are you saying, that he did not end 8 or 9 wars already, soon to be 10?
So, I mean, again, though, Michael, look at that, right? So he says, I'm anti-war. I'm going to end all the wars. and then he comes and bombs Iran. All right, then he stops the bombing. So when he first does the bombing, people are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Then he stops the bombing. They're like, okay, fine, fine, fine. It just will show strength. Now all of a sudden, he's thinking of invading Venezuela. And people are like,
he's just shooting. He's shooting at boats like if he's playing, what's the name? Minecraft or something. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's insane. And it's like what, 67, 68 people have been killed with these drone strikes. But you know that there's not one single verified proof that any of those boats, any of them, are actually drug boats. In fact, every person that I have seen on television who has, at least in the Chiron, a impressive title, says the same thing. None of those boats could make it anywhere even remotely close to America's shore. Not one of them. They're like 3 Mercury 200 outboard motors. Those fuckers are good for what? 4 hours on the ocean? I mean, they're fishing boats. You go out, you cast your net, right? You shut it off, you turn it back on, you grab the net, you pick up whatever fish that you end up, and then you head back to shore to probably go sell it. Well, they're not selling anything because they become fish food themselves.
Yeah, so those boats go about 100 miles before they need to refuel. America is 2,000 miles from Venezuela. So they'd have to refuel 20 times in the middle of the ocean.
Well, not if you have an oar. Not if you have a couple of oars over there, right? Stroke. Right. I'm going to have a stroke. I have another 1,990 miles before I get to America's shoreline. Oh, and then, by the way, what are you supposed to do? Turn around and say, can you fill me up, please?
Look, those are not drug boats coming to America, and so that's 100% verifiable fact. And then they bombed one of the boats, and 3 people didn't die. A bunch of others did, but 3 didn't. And so since Trump is saying they're all narco terrorists and a great threat to the U.S., and every boat would kill 25,000 Americans. So obviously these guys are like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed times 8. We brought him to the maximum security prison in Colorado, right? Oh, no, we let him go. You know why we let him go? Because we have no evidence, because we're bombing random boats. And the fact that we let them go back to their home countries without any charges shows you we have zero evidence. We're bombing totally random boats in the ocean so Trump can seem like a tough guy. But killing 87 people, extrajudicial killings in international waters, is no joke. That's a war crime. You can get prosecuted for that. Those are real human beings you killed. But that's the tip of the iceberg, Michael. They want to do regime change in Venezuela. What part of that is anti-war? So if they get into a mess in Venezuela, oh my God! Take what I'm saying about Trump cratering it and double it, because literally outside of Marco Rubio and Donald Trump, no one in the country wants war with Venezuela. Plus the oil companies, to be fair.
Yeah, agreed with you. So I want to talk for a second about another new Trump crusade, and that's to end the filibuster. He's calling it patriotic efficiency. What's amazing is they come up with these little slang terms and they stick, right? So ending the filibuster is now patriotic efficiency, except Cenk, you and I both know it's about the consolidation of power, unchecked power. What's his real motive here? It's to pass his agenda faster, or to silence the minority altogether?
Yeah, so the filibuster is a complicated one. I'm a little worried about what Trump is planning, because normally I'm against the filibuster, but now he's got me nervous when he says, like, hey, let's get rid of the filibuster and we could end this whole thing. And he doesn't mean the government shutdown. That I'm okay with. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And now you're freaking me out. But the reason I'm against the filibuster is it prevents majority rule. And so, look, elections have consequences. So if the Republicans win and they have a majority in the House, the Senate, and the White House, they should be able to pass the bills that people voted for, right? And then if they go overboard, as they are now, then they get punished in 26 and then 28, right?
Maybe.
Yeah. And so So I know the main point of the filibuster these days is to prevent any bills from passing. And Chamber of Commerce and the corporate world love the filibuster. That's why he's getting so much pushback from otherwise subservient Republican senators, because now they're in a conflict. They're like, President Trump, I know you want to get rid of the filibuster, but my donors love the filibuster. It's the thing that protects them more than anything else. That's why
Right.
the Democrats pretend they can't pass paid family leave, higher minimum wage, and all the things that my donors hate, right? So that's why I think in a just and real world, we should have no filibuster. It's not in the Constitution. It's not. It's just a made up thing in the Senate. You could just get rid of it. So I don't want to change my principles based on who's in office. But now it comes with a heavy asterisk of what does Trump mean when he says that without the filibuster they could just end all of this?
Right.
It's not an exact quote, so I'll have to get you the quote, but he said something yesterday and today that made me go, wait, what are you planning? Tell me what you're planning, and then we'll talk
Yeah.
about the filibuster.
Cenk, my feeling is, and I felt always the same as you do. And knowing Trump as well as I do, I share the same concerns that you do, to the point I have made it crystal clear. I believe if the filibuster falls, that it's game over for the separation of powers. Game over. All right. Just imagine for a second, and I want my listeners to imagine this as well. A Trump Senate pushing through voter ID laws, abortion bans, mass deportation orders, and on and on and on, all unchecked. I think it's dangerous because they're already doing it, despite the fact that the filibuster hasn't even come into play until now. And my feeling is that the Senate Republicans would actually go along with it. They have abdicated their power. They have conferred their powers to the executive branch. The House certainly has, at least all Republicans except for maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? They've
And
all
Tom Massey.
right. And maybe sometimes Josh Hawley, right? You imagine this bunch of three, other than them. The House, they've capitulated. The Senate, same thing. You know that they're going to capitulate and do whatever they want when you have somebody like Pete Hegseth confirmed, when you have people like Kash Patel confirmed.
Yeah. So first, I want to let the audience know about the Rosetta Stone of politics, the thing that could help you decipher everything else. So isn't it strange that the three honest Republicans now are Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tom Massey, and Josh Hawley? Like, I don't think 10 years ago, 5 years ago, anybody could have predicted that. Maybe you could predict Massey, but not the other two, right? So, and so why is that? Those are the three not taking corporate PAC money. Okay. So, and on the left, who's the most active, constantly pushing bills to help the average American? Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna has never taken corporate PAC money. So who was the first to sign on for Bernie? Ro Khanna was. Who was you name the first of anything on the left, it was Ro Khanna. Why? Because he doesn't take corporate PAC money. Same thing for Mamdani and AOC now, et cetera, right? So you could disagree with their policies, you could agree with their policies, but at least they're honest, right? So, and that's what unites them. So, and all the other ones like Chip Roy and all these so-called tough guy Tea Party Republicans, Freedom Caucus, blah, blah, bullshit. They totally serve the donors. They're playing a game with Mike Johnson, etc. Oh, no, we will block your bills because we want you to do even more for the donors while they're pretending to be populist. Utterly full of shit, right? So, and we're fair here. We're saying Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tom Massey actually are populist, right?
Yeah.
And so, okay, now to the filibuster. Look, I came up with an idea in the middle of this segment, and maybe I could push it out, see what happens. You could say it was born on Mea Culpa. Yeah, I'll do a deal on the filibuster as long as we have that vote the day after the election, after the 26th election, okay? Because I think that I'm against the filibuster, But you're right. The number one concern that I have and that everybody should have is if you get rid of the filibuster now and they use it to change the way that people vote. Oh, no, 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 no. Then we're not going to have fair elections. No way. No deal, right?
You know, my days were always nonstop meetings, podcasts, deadlines, a little chaos. And by the time I get home, the last thing that I want is a mattress that fights me. And that's why I got the Lisa Hybrid. Let me tell you, it's like my bedroom became a 5-star retreat overnight. The second I hit that mattress, instant peace. It's plush, supportive, not too soft. It cradles you, adjusts to you, and lets me sleep like I didn't even know I could. I slept on a lot of mattresses in my life, believe me, but this one, it's a game changer. I wake up rested, recharged, and ready to take on the day without rolling over to the floor in frustration. And here's the kicker. Lisa makes it in the USA, top-notch quality, and they even give back thousands of mattresses to folks in need. Sleep well, feel good, and do good. So here's the deal. Go to lisa.com, use my promo code Cohen, and get 25% off your mattress, plus an extra $50 off. That's lisa.com, LEESA.com, promo code Cohen. Treat yourself. You deserve it. And hey, tell them I sent you. You ever have one of those nights where your brain just won't shut off? Well, unfortunately, I do. I'm lying in bed, thinking about a million things that I can't control, scrolling my phone, tossing and turning. Sleep, well, feels impossible. That's me until I found IndaCloud. And finally, my mind could actually rest. IndaCloud is your online cannabis dispensary. Gummies, flower, pre-rolls, all federally legal, DEA certified, lab tested, shipped discreet. When your thoughts won't stop, well, at least your brain can. First time I tried IndaCloud, I wasn't trying to escape the world. No, I just wanted one night when my brain could actually relax. And one gummy later, I actually slept instead of staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything all at once. Sleep gummies for quiet in the chaos. Social snacks for when you want to hang with friends without losing your mind. Dispensary grade edibles for when your thoughts won't let up. And $70 ounces because peace of mind shouldn't come with a luxury tax. This is how you unplug without falling behind. Calm brain, world still spinning. Sounds perfect. So if you're 21 or older, go to indacloud.co and use code Cohen for 40% off your first order plus free shipping. That's indacloud.co, indacloud.co, and use code Cohen, COHEN, for 40% off, free shipping, a quieter break for you. Unsubscribe from one alert, grab ounces instead. Enjoy responsibly, and thanks to IndaCloud for sponsoring today's episode.
So, okay, let's have the 2026 elections. And if you guys are so confident that the Republicans are amazing and Trump is amazing, you're going to win anyway, right? And then let's have the rule apply right after the election, okay? And that way, if the Republicans win the majority, well, guys, they won the majority. This one, it is what it is, right? But, you know, we'll find out who really means it and who doesn't. But of course, they're not going to do that. The Republicans want to end the filibuster when they're in charge.
Well, they want the filibuster now so that they could reopen government under their terms with a clean CR, which I want to continue with Marjorie Taylor Greene because I have been, as many people have, incredibly critical and disparaging of her, calling her Marjorie Toilet Green. I basically don't agree with almost anything that comes out of her mouth. However, I do have to say, she is the star of the Republican reality show. Marjorie Taylor Greene literally calling out like a Brooklyn beatdown. Seriously, like a Brooklyn beatdown, calling out Mike Johnson for keeping the House closed during this shutdown, accusing him of cowardice right to his face and protecting Democrats. This is what she said, literally right to his face. What did he do? Nothing. His cheeks turned pink. You know, he had to apply more makeup, the whole 9 yards, figuring he's going to be going back on Fox News to keep spewing more and more bullshit. But when a sitting congresswoman is calling her own party a disgrace on live television, and that congresswoman is Marjorie Taylor Greene, what does it tell you about the state of the GOP?
Yeah. So I used to call her Margarine Taylor Greene because
No,
of what
mine is better. Yeah, mine's better.
we were it's a play on their white nationalism, etc. But look, no, we Young Turks was the first show on the left to have her on, and when we did, there was huge blowback. How dare you? Don't enable, blah blah blah, right? And I was like, no, guys, you have to actually listen. You have to listen to what they're saying, right? Now, when you do that, 98% of the time, you find out that politicians are full of shit. But in 2% of the time, you're like, oh, wait, what did you say? Right?
Mm.
And so what Marjorie Taylor Greene started doing was taking on the establishment in a real way with courage. And so, look, no matter what you think of the Israel issue, her defying the establishment and saying, no, I'm not going to go along with this anymore was incredibly brave, and it was honest, right? And so, okay, but if you leave it at that, you go, well, I don't know, is that just the space laser thing, and that's just one issue, and she's blah 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 on that? No. Then she went to wait, what? Why are we doubling everybody's healthcare premiums? That doesn't make sense. A lot of my constituents are going to have their healthcare premiums doubled. And then she went to wait, are we sure we should cut food stamps? And now we asked her to join Ro Khanna's bill on lowering drug prices. We're doing so. A Young Turks is 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, right, on YouTube. And then at 8 o'clock, I started a new show called The Revolution. And what I'm doing is left, right, center, everybody come. Let's figure out how to get our government back, how to get representative democracy back, right? And so one of the things that we decided to push was this Ro Khanna bill because it's bipartisan. He actually took a Trump executive order and turned it into a bill verbatim. Trump didn't want that to really pass because he thought the courts are going to knock down this executive order. I'm going to get a credit for being for lower drug prices, but it's not really going to go into effect, so my donors are good with it, right? But Khanna's like, okay, why don't we make it a bill so the courts can't knock it down? And so a bunch of Republicans then joined on, right? And so it's a really smart bill, HR 3493. So we started pushing it on The Revolution, and next thing you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene reaches out and goes, yeah, I'm in. I'll co-sponsor it. I want lower drug prices. Okay, so now you go, all right, now it's clear. You're earnest. You mean it. We still have huge disagreements on other issues. That's okay. Look, guys, if we just got past the left-right paradigm that mainstream media is kind of forced on us, and look, politics happens, and you got to vote for a Democrat or Republican. I get it. I get all that, right? But at the end of the day, yeah, we have these huge disagreements on some cultural issues and some other issues, but we actually, the American people in mass, agree on 2/3 of the issues. No one wants higher drug prices. There's like literally no one outside of Washington who wants higher drug prices. Washington forces it down our throat. Look, I'm proud that the Democrats and the left are on the side of fighting against that kind of corporate power historically. That's why I'm on this side. The Republicans are not known for fighting against corporate power. They're known for helping corporate power, right? But if Marjorie Taylor Greene said,
in all fairness, though, saying it's not just Democrats who are, it's Republicans, it's independents, it's all politicians are on the side for the most part. Maybe there's a handful that aren't, that are on the side of corporate, simply because, as you said before, they fill their coffers.
100%. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Democratic voters and left-wing voters have always been against corporate power. But you're right. The Democratic politicians are sold out, like 90% of them, and they drive me crazy because they're hooked on the donor money, right? And so they keep chasing that. But like, we have a wonderful opportunity to bring 2/3 of the country together. If we could just find one honest Democrat for 2028 and have that person win the primary and be an actual populist and take on Trump's style, which is, no, I'm going to be authentic. And I don't care what you say. No, we're going to get lower drug prices if I have to beat every politician with a rhetorical and political stick, okay? So never anything physical or violent, but like, no, I'm going to kick the living crap out of these guys politically. And if they want to talk about, oh no, my donor wants higher drug prices, I'm going to name names. I'm going to put up a giant poster of a Democratic senator or a Republican senator or both and I'm going to say this crooked son of a bitch took $1 million from Big Pharma and now works for Big Pharma like a dog and increased your prices on your drugs and screwed you over. And you should hate this guy and you should vote him out of office because he's a corrupt piece of crap. You give me a Democratic fire-breathing populist like that, will win in a landslide, will pass 3, 4, 6 bills that the American people
want,
and boom, you got the country and the government for the next 40 years.
So, Cenk, look, as I said, the hour goes by. So, I think I have another 80 questions to ask you, but I want to end on this. So, the result of the election, to me at least, proved that decency, empathy, and truth can still win. But winning one election cycle, it's not a revolution. The question I want to ask you is what needs to happen structurally, strategically, morally for Democrats to turn this wave into a fucking tsunami? Literally turn it into a governing movement that actually delivers for the people who showed up for them.
Yeah. So the answer is very, very clear. The only question is, do the Democrats have it in them, right? So, okay, so what should they do? First of all, they should go on a war path against money in politics. Everybody hates money in politics. It's polls at over 90%, right? So, and you don't have to do unilateral disarmament in general elections, but if they did something symbolic, but also real and important, like they say, you know what, we hate corporate PAC money. I know we got to take it to compete with the Republicans in the general elections, but that's it. We're ending it in our primaries. Our primaries we're not going to pollute it with corporate PAC money. We're going to have honest elections, grassroots. Let's go, right? And then they say they take like the populist plank that we have on tyt.com, right? So what's the populist? Money out of politics, anti-war, paid family leave, higher minimum wage leading to higher wages for everyone.
Yeah, lower drug prices.
Lower drug prices. And the last one is lower housing prices by banning private equity from buying up residential real estate. Okay. So all 6 of those are poll at 67% or higher. I mean, you can't ask for better than that, right? So if I was them, I would take a random one like paid family leave and I'd go on the war path on that. It polls at 84%. It's moms getting 12 weeks off after they have a baby. Republican voters love it. The independents are overwhelming. And the Democrats are overwhelming. There's no way to lose there. The only people in the whole country who are against it are corporate overlords, right? And so you go and go, if I win, if the Democrats win in 26, you're going to get this, this, and this. And I guarantee you that every mom, when they have a baby, they're going to get 12 weeks off. And I don't give a damn what any corporate goon has to say about it. Okay? You're going to take care of American moms. And Republicans, I dare you to vote against it. Vote against American moms. Go ahead. I dare you, right? And get in their grill. But, I mean, Michael, do you see anyone in the Democratic Party that's got that kind of fight?
which is why I am wrestling every single day with this notion. Maybe I'm going to go for Jerry Nadler's seat here in District 12 because it's exactly what I would turn around and say. All right. District 12 is completely ignored across the board. Jerry Nadler's done absolutely nothing for the people of District 12. Higher prices on everything. Real estate taxes every year going up more and more. You have young people moving the hell out of here because they can't afford it. Food prices are ridiculous on the Upper East Side. And that's not to say it's not downtown as well. It is. But if I'm representing District 12, these are my people. All right. And yeah, somebody has to be able to get into the face of like MAGA Mike Johnson. By the way, if the House turns Democrat, and God forbid Hakeem Jeffries becomes Speaker of the House, I get right up into his shit too with the same thing. You know what? Fuck you. You know how much it costs. We've all had enough. And yeah, I don't even think that 90 days is enough, to be honest with you. I would go even longer than that, like the way they do in Europe. You know, I think it's like they get 6 months of maternity leave. And by the way, there's also paternity leave too. So I get it. And you're not wrong. The corporate overlords, they hate it because, oh my God, it interferes with their profitability, right? Interferes with how much money that they're going to send to their, to their shareholders or their bonuses. Not interested in that anymore. They're stealing enough.
Exactly. And Hakeem and Chuck don't have it in them to say that, right?
No.
So look, you know what, they don't have to step down. What they could say is, you know what, in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, in his ultimate grace, is handing the baton to Ruben Gallego to do press conferences, to speak for the Democratic Party, etc. And Ruben's a pretty tough guy. I don't agree with everything he's got to say, but he's not bad. He's pretty aggressive, right? So I'm picking him as the best I got in the Senate. And go, unleash him, right? You don't have to go all the way to Bernie. I'd love it if it was Bernie, but it's okay. Pick somebody like Gallego and have him go kick some ass for you. In the House, pick someone who's smart, who's been right all along, Ro Khanna or someone else. You know what? Greg Casar, head of the Progressive Caucus, really smart guy, agrees with all these policies, is a fighter, Maxwell Frost, etc. Find someone with a little fire in their belly who could say it the way that you and I are saying it, Michael. Just be plain spoken, be a real guy, stand up for the average voter, and they'll love you for it. But if they do the mealy-mouthed corporate bullshit, then they've learned nothing, and they're not, and they're endangering our chances of winning, and they're endangering our democracy by not being more effective fighters against Trump and the Republican Party.
Amen to that. Cenk, thank you so much for joining me as always. I'll speak to you very soon. I'm going to need you back on because there's a lot of shit going down.
Yeah. Appreciate it, brother. Take care.